Greetings to another round of the Candlepower Hour. We're going to get right into it with Canadian Hollywood entertainment stylist Leisa Balfour. Canadian Hollywood, you might ask? That's not Toronto. Leisa is from Canada and began her career there alongside of many of Canada's top artists, including Alanis Morissette, Bare Naked Ladies, Platinum Blonde, Kim Mitchell, Alannah Myles, before setting her sights on Hollywood. So we have with us Leisa Balfour, and she has an incredible list that we're going to go. Welcome to the show, Leisa.
Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm good.
That's very cool. Thank you for coming here. You're from Canada.
Yes.
And I want to also just continue on real quick because your creative designs and styling credits include, and get this, Prince, Beyonce, LL Cool J, Beck, Michael and Janet Jackson, The Outkast, The Game, Chris Brown, Hoopastank, Lil Jon, Missy Elliott, Twista, Snoop Dogg, Luther Vandross, Alice Cooper, Black Crowes, Marilyn Manson, Macy Gray. The list goes on and on. We are stoked to have you in. So thanks again.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks.
How did you get started in this business in Canada?
It was just a young girl with a vision. She loved fashion and she loved music, and she made her way around the circuit.
How did you get into that circuit in Toronto? What was the circuit like, and how old were you?
Really young. I had a vision one day. I guess I woke up one morning. I was probably maybe around 12, and I just had this vision that I wanted to dress the world. I learned to sew when I was 6 years old. My grandaunt that I grew up with in Jamaica, she taught me to sew. And then I later moved to Canada with my family. And I grew up in Toronto, in the suburbs of Scarborough, where a lot of our people from, or major entertainment people grew up. And so I had this vision. I wanted to dress the world, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. And I just continued sewing through the years, and I would meet people. And one day I answered this ad it was a casting for something. I think it was a music video. And I met this agent, and she goes, "You have a really cool look. You know, you should consider modeling." And I was like, "Well, I'm more into fashion. I'm a designer and so forth." And she goes, just listen to me. I'll get you in with the right people, and you can, do your stuff. You can pitch your stuff, type of thing. So I got in doing videos. I was a video girl. So this was like around 15. And so I was in a bunch of different artists, like music videos and so forth. I even did some acting. I was in like a vampire movie even. That's still like on my credits somewhere. I didn't even know that was there. But so, yeah, I was doing the music videos, and then some of the artists would see what I was wearing and goes, "Oh, that's really cool stuff. Where'd you get that?" And I go, "I'm a designer. I could do stuff for you." And then that's how it kind of came about. I met this producer, and he connected me with some bands, one of them being Platinum Blonde. His name is David Bendeth. He's worked with a lot of people, like, and he was like kind of intricate and like, connecting me. Another one was Bill Kennedy. He's no longer with us. He's worked with, like Manson, 9 Inch Nails, and so forth. These two guys were intricate in like having me make the move to LA because they were wearing my stuff. They were coming to LA frequently, working with their different artists. And David actually, in fact, wore this coat that I'd made him. It had like leather and fringes and all that stuff. It was the 80s, right? So he wore it into Fred Siegel. And they asked him, it's like, "Hey, where'd you get that jacket?" He goes, "Oh, a friend of mine in Toronto designs it." He goes, "Oh, could we get like 20 of them for our store?" And so he calls me with this, and he's like, "Well, I went in the store. It's a really cool store. It's like, and they want 20 of those jackets." I go, "20?" He goes, "In 2 weeks." And I go, it takes me 2 weeks to make one. I'm like putting in, like studs and so forth by hand and everything. And so we put that on hold. But he goes, you need to get to LA because what you're doing would really, you would really take off type of thing. So it didn't happen right away. I sat on it for a while, and, other friends that were in the music industry were coming recording in LA, and they goes, girl, you need to go to LA. You really would do well in LA. And at that point, I was like, like 17. I was probably like actually 19 about then. And, I was about to have my daughter. And so I was like, okay, well, my life is kind of changing right now. So I gave it a few years. And then in the early 90s, I put a book together. I did a photo shoot, got some models, did a book, came down to LA, hit up some stores on Melrose because that's when Melrose was really happening. Went into some stores, got some orders, and the rest was history from there. Stuff started building. I was in stores like Red Balls, Retail Slut, was carrying a lot of my stuff. So a lot of the musicians were like shopping at these stores and buying my stuff and wearing them. And it's like, ironically, later on, I would like run into certain people and they go, what do you do? And I go, I'm a designer. And go, what's your line? And I go, my line at the time was called Extreme by Leisa Balfour. And it goes, I have a shirt by you, or I have pants by you, type of thing. So it was cool, type of thing.
How did you find the resources here in LA to manufacture your line? Did you rent a room with a table, and did you discover?
I actually was manufacturing it in Canada. It was still being made in Canada, most of it by me. And then as the orders got bigger, I had to contract someone. So I got a contractor. So I would just, like go to LA, for a week, make the circuit with stores, get some orders, come back, produce them, and then make another trip down there.
So when you came to LA first, it was temporary. You were here to scout, to network, to get orders. You hadn't moved here yet.
No, not yet.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have family members that are in the entertainment industry as well? Or are you sort of solo?
I started off solo, but I do, have entertainment. My uncle is is part of what would you say, kind of created a culture in the UK, a kind of a ska punk rock culture. He's a guitarist and founding member of the band The Specials, Linval Golding. So that is something that came like later on. It's like grew up listening to the music, but didn't even realize that we were related until years later.
Wow. That's
yeah, because our family was just like, their family moved to England, ours moved to Canada, some moved to the US. So it was like, here in the US, in LA, that I met
How did
him.
you make that discovery? A photograph on the wall or something like that?
No, it was I was at my ex, Angela Moore of the band Fishbone. I was doing a fashion show actually with a store here in LA, and he came to the show and he goes, "Oh, I want us to go to this mentor of mine, my favorite artist, is in town. He inspired me, blah blah blah." And he's having a DJ set at Fado Do or something, right? So he goes, we're going to go afterwards. So I was like, okay, cool. No biggie. So we go there. And then we meet, and Linval comes out and greets us. Hey, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like looking at this man. We take a photo together. It was me, Angelo, and his daughter, Cheyenne. And we take a photo together, and Linval was right beside me. And I'm like looking at this man, and I was like, there was something familiar, but I was like, because he kind of reminded me of my dad. And I was like, and then later on during the set, he was playing this song. I can't remember the song, but it was a song I grew up listening to in Jamaica. It was like a reggae song. And he said about, growing up in Jamaica listening to the song.
Wow.
So I go to Cheyenne. I go, we used to listen. And when he said where he was from, he said he was from St. Catharines, and that's where I was born. And I go to Cheyenne. I think I'm related to this man, you know? And she's like, what? So I'm here like looking on my phone, looking this up. And I was like, no way. So we saw him the next day because there was this like festival, Ink and Iron, that we had to go to, and he was going to be there. So when we ran into each other, and I said, hey, you know what? I think we're related. And then we were talking and exchanging, you know, our like family tree and so forth and so forth. So it's like he's related on my dad's
Incredible.
side. And it was just so, we're like, this is my uncle. And it was just like the weirdest thing. And like, you know, as the years this was like over like almost 15 years ago now. And so we become really close. I even, you know, like did styling for the specials on their last album and so forth. So
That's incredible.
It's been
A small world, and you were already developing your career before you met him.
Yeah.
So you were able to team up and collaborate.
Yeah,
eventually.
definitely.
Good for you.
And you know,
That's an amazing story.
I still
Amazing.
dress him and so forth, whatever he does.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Nice. So now Jamaica, do you have memories of Jamaica?
Very little, because I left there when I was like just turning 7.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's, you know, the beaches, Dunn's River Falls.
Right, right.
I remember one of the first things I went to, because my aunt, you know, she was very creative and so forth, and her husband was a doctor, and they treated me really well, like as their little princess. Lisa could do no wrong type of thing. So, you know, it was just like I was, you know, well educated and so forth, and you know.
Awesome.
But,
Good.
yeah.
Well, let's get back to the stylist and the fashion design. So you became a fashion designer. You started working with all these artists who were wearing your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of dabbled in the fashion world back in the 80s with some folks, so I got to know it. What is the difference between a fashion designer and a stylist?
Well, a stylist kind of needs a designer. So if you can do both, it's great, because a designer, you have to actually know the craft. You have to know to sew. It's like starting everything from scratch. So it's the grit you have to, you know, whereas a stylist is someone who, you know, will pick and, you know, stuff from different people and say, here, this is what you should wear, or this is what I think will look good on you. Whereas the designer is the actual creator that, you know, comes up with the design, the fabric, and all of that stuff, and puts it all together so that the stylist will have it ready to use.
As a fashion designer, you became a stylist. Were people, like you said, hey, I wear your line.
Yeah.
What was your first venture into being a stylist? Who asked you to, hey, I need a look?
In doing the styling part, I kind of ventured into it when I first moved to LA. I was working with one of the designers that had a store on Melrose, and he created, like, he had his store where he did a lot of custom stuff for different people as well. And he's actually the one who got me the Michael Jackson thing. We'll circle back around that. But so he had this other store that opened up down the street, and he opened up this other store that I could work out of. And so we'd have some of the other clothes come in, and people would come in from there to shop. And this lady came in, and she was with Playboy magazine. And she was shopping for some shoes for a shoot and so forth. And she goes, hey, I could use an assistant. Would you like to come help me? And I was like, sure. You know, because I told, there was something in the store that she'd wanted, and I sewed it for her. So she goes, yeah, you should come on set and be my assistant and so forth. So I went with her, and the shoot that we were doing was for Chyna, WWE Chyna. And, you know, it's like we did her first spread, and I made a connection with Chyna. I brought my book one day because it was like a week-long shoot or something. So I brought my portfolio one day and showed her. And she was like, oh, could you make some stuff for me? Maybe you could make some stage stuff or whatever for me. And I was like, cool, yeah, And then so she's one of the first people that like asked me. I designed and styled her, and we had a good relationship for a while. So yeah, she's one of the first. And then later on, someone else needed a tailor on set, and a stylist. She worked with a lot of like hip hop artists and so forth, June Ambrose. So I became an assistant to her on sets, and we did like all the top like hip hop R&B artists during like with the big budgets and everything. It was like, God, I miss those budgets.
Sure. Chow, we all do.
So yeah, I worked with a lot of the top, directors like Hype Williams, Little X, Eric White, all those people, and built, a rapport with them. And
Yeah,
so
that's
forth.
amazing.
Yeah.
Now dealing with these celebrities, these superstars, how was it with you adapting to that upper level? Did you find yourself comfortable? Were you nervous at first when you're dealing with these folks? And what was it like adapting into that world?
I don't think, because I was comfortable with what I did. I know I could sew my ass off. So, as long as you're confident in your skill and your art, then it doesn't really, the adaptability isn't that hard. Because for me, it was just like, I was just being genuine with the person that I am, and I got along with most people. So it was cool,
That is when you found your way into fashion entertainment, you have some inspirations, even going all the way back to Jimi Hendrix. And so some of my questions I have are about fashion through the ages, and I sort of laugh because rock and roll, believe it or not, is a fashion. And when you think about like the 60s and the Summer of Love and the hippies, how did fashion develop in time? And what do you think about fashion in the rock and roll world, like Hendrix, and what did that start?
Well, Hendrix was just, that's my muse type of thing. It kind of meshed my love for fashion and music together. So growing up, it's like we had a family that listened to music, whether it was my brother, my mom, my dad, on weekends. I grew up in like a middle class family. So it's like working middle class. And it's like my mom on weekends when she's cleaning would be listening to music, whether it would be country or something. Later on in the afternoon, as my dad is working around the house or something, he's listening to some pop or, stuff. He was listening to like Blondie, Supertramp. I remember when he brought home Breakfast in America album or Heart of Glass, and he played that over and over. And I was just like, I was gone. My brother DJ'd, and he had like the reggae, and he liked that, like classic rock stuff as well. So there was always music in the home, and, we would watch the stuff on TV, and the Saturday evenings we'd be watching Solid Gold, Hee Haw, type of thing. So it's very eclectic, and my taste has become eclectic as a result of my upbringing, because I had the best of everything. So yeah, it's influenced me. I'd be watching people on TV, watching what they're wearing, and that's kind of where that vision came of, I want to be able to. I didn't know how I was going to get there or where it even came from, but I saw that and I go, I want to do that. I want to be the person. I remember seeing Michael Jackson, and he was, I think it was I Want to Rock With You, and he was wearing all this glitter and the boots, and I was like thinking, I want to be able to do that, I want to be the person that makes that, type of thing. So I still have my affinity for glitter, still, 50 plus years later.
Sure.
So yeah, and it's like, I remember even seeing Purple Rain and just saying, I want to dress him one day. And I didn't know how, or what, it was just something that just came out of thoughts that just came out of my head and just And then
Well, it's
later
something
on,
you don't hear about all the time, about somebody looking at rock and roll, listening to rock and roll, and thinking to themselves, I want to dress that person. I love what they're wearing.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that in all my years. But we all know about stylists. We know that everybody had, the superstars, they always grab them. And now when you came into Hollywood and you mentioned you're always going to love glitter and the big budgets, that must have blew you away when you first walked onto some of these big sound stages and these gigantic productions. Was it exciting for you?
Yeah, it was. Actually,
did you fit right in and say, this is it. This is where I'm at home.
Yeah, I did feel at home, and I just, went right to work type of thing, because it's like the thing too because it's wardrobe, sometimes, a lot of times, we're an afterthought depending on the director. Like, there were some directors that I worked with, which I appreciated because fashion was an intricate part of what was going to be the finished product. So we would get the call first of like, okay, this is what I want to do, this, blah, blah, blah. Whereas some other artists, they're like, oh, fashion ain't that important. So you'd be getting calls like the night before a shoot, or like less than a week. And you have to be, scattering around, trying to find stuff, trying to make stuff. So lots of times I was like having to, have my sewing machine, find my corner, go and just sew nonstop type of thing. And then there'd be other times where it's like, okay, we had the time to prepare and cultivate an actual look, and I prefer that. I like working with artists where, they take the look into consideration and it's not just an afterthought.
I want to mention that the wardrobe department, in my experience, and I'm going to reference American Idol, for all the years that we've been on it, back in the day when we would go live to 30 million people every week, the wardrobe department, and I've spoken about this to the wardrobe folks themselves, the gals, the hardworking department, they are busy day in, day out, the entire day. When lighting, rigging, builds the show, it's up, we're all chilling out, doing. That is one of the busiest departments I've ever encountered. Yeah. And not only were they busy outfitting the contestants, working around the clock, but down the hall, they had the seamstresses working around the clock constantly. So, we've never been a part of a show where you see the functioning Department of Wardrobe so actively busy and overstressed and overworked. There's nothing but respect I got for the wardrobe and the stylist departments.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We appreciate you. So now, getting back to fashion and rock and roll, we all saw it grow and explode growing up in the 80s and the 90s, like Madonna. I want to reference because I remember when Madonna came around, you couldn't stop these young girls from dressing up like her.
That's true.
The inspiration and the influence that these artists have just for wearing something is almost as powerful as the music itself.
It's true. They kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Some people will not, will knock, especially the 80s and so forth, and 70s and 80s, because there was so much put into that.
Right.
But it's what sold the image, because if you have a certain image, it's what's going to sell it, especially when we came into the era of like MTV. That was a major selling for a lot of people. Without MTV, a lot of people would never came out of their garages, and it was a game that you had to play. You had to look a certain way, you had to sound a certain way, to make it.
MTV sort of sent the wardrobe industry into space.
Yeah.
Because it was an industry of continued rock videos, pumping them out with, like you said, the big budgets, with everybody contributing. Yeah. And the funny thing you mentioned about wardrobe becoming a part of, that gigantic image of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
We all remember The Road Warrior.
Yeah.
Mad Max.
Yes.
Mad Max was a movie. Mad Max had a costume department, a wardrobe department, a production designer, and it was Mad Max and The Road Warrior that inspired an entire generation of fucking rock and roll and heavy metal.
Exactly.
Pardon my French, but
It's true.
it is true that fashion was the Road Warrior.
Yeah.
And everybody, and Rob Halford of Judas Priest, we all know his background, so incredible that it was visuals, vision, and wardrobe department that inspired heavy metal as well.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just the music.
A lot of work went into those heavy metal outfits, and still do.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. And so now, the power of show business and television. How did that affect you over just regular the music industry? When it was radio, and did it increase your career? With television and film, or were people able to stay busy with just in the record business? Because it's blended. Kind of rambling.
Yeah, I think they did. It did.
Does that make sense?
It did stay busy because it does contribute where when labels and sales actually counted, then more money was put into stuff. Whereas like either a music video or something. Okay, we're signing this band and we're putting out this amount of singles, so this amount of money is going towards this. So, when you have that whole team and that whole village going, it will, everybody has to work together to make it sell, and that was the thing. I was part of that village, and it was great to be.
It is great, and it is always a blessing to be a part of these incredible opportunities. I definitely say so myself. The Michael and Janet Jackson video that you worked on, Scream. How was that experience, and how deep were you with that project?
That was not. I won't say it was not. It wasn't that deep. Well, it was deep in the impact it had on my career, but I wasn't actually on set. I was still in Canada then, and it was on one of my trips to LA when I was bringing the clothes to the stores, and I brought it to the store. And he had the same name as me, but he spelled it with a Z, Extremes. And he took the pieces and had them in the store as consignment. And he goes, well, I don't know what we're going to do with it. It was something I was experimenting. It was like the silver pieces, like the coat she wore and, the silver pants and so forth. So I was just experimenting in that phase with materials. And I go, I don't know what you're going to do with it, let me know if it sells, send me the check type of thing. And so I get the call one day and he goes, oh, these people came in for a Michael Jackson video and they bought your pieces. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. All right, send me the check type of thing. Not casting it off or anything, that little girl that said, yeah, I want to dress Michael Jackson one day. Yeah, sure. But that didn't even come into play. I didn't know how big this was, I was like, oh, it's another video, And at that point, MTV, it was a big thing when a video was released. It's like, oh, Michael Jackson's video is coming out on this day at this night. People stay in, people stay up to watch this. It was like a premiere type of thing. And so when this video came out, there's a couple other videos that came out before. And so I was like, okay, it's not in that video. It's in a different video. So when the video came out and I watched it that night, I was like,
that's my stuff.
Yeah, I was like dumbfounded. I didn't know, I didn't even say that's my stuff. I was just like in shock, and then the video was like gaining all this traction and hearing it's the most expensive video ever made. And I was like, And I'm here thinking to my head, like, because I remember seeing like an interview with like Herb Ritz, and he was talking about the wardrobe in the video and so forth and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, but I only made this amount of money. And I'm here thinking to myself, I was just like, so it like worked because it was something to go on the resume. Yeah, this,
That's phenomenal.
type of thing. And it's like, ironically, I got hired when I moved to LA because of different things like that, because of those pieces, or, because of my work with Prince, or, type of stuff. So it's like a respect thing that artists have for other artists. So when they know that you've worked with certain people, then it's like, okay, yeah, we can bring her on our team, type of thing,
Sure.
So
There's a lot of unsung heroism in show business.
yes.
And I imagine many times you've seen your art, your craft, your work on videos, on shows, and there's no credit. There's no, your name is not rolling by, and you just got to look at it and be proud.
Yeah.
And I know that because of, my resume's a half a mile long myself. So, and most of it is, I worked on that, but there's no credits to, for the crew for the most part.
Yeah.
So, it takes a lot of pride and a lot of understanding to just, be stoked that your product was on that, on those videos.
Exactly.
So that is very cool. And your family must be very stoked too.
Yeah.
About all that.
Yeah.
And your daughter, is she now, how old is she?
My daughter is 36.
And what does she do?
She's a model. So she got
Awesome.
She got into the industry, whereas like I would have her on set with me at times. And during a period when I was working with Beyonce, she became Beyonce's like body double. We're doing the videos and they go, hey, can she do it, type of thing. So she became, she would like sit in and do certain takes and so forth. And so, hey, we were both making money on set, so then she developed and she went into the whole doing music videos as well, being the video girl in music videos and stuff like that as well. So
that's great. Do you have any experiences or personal stories that are memorable, that are like fashion, what are they, what is that, when they call a wardrobe malfunction. So, because Janet Jackson was the one
I wasn't a part of that.
Coined that phrase, but it's like, I imagine it happens all the time.
Yeah, it does. I guess mine in regards to that would have been with Beyonce, but it was a near miss. It was when she was first going solo. And it was her first performance. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get in trouble I just looked at that picture, came up online. It was a award show. I want to almost say that it was like the Essence Awards or something like that. But I had to make her this leather dress, and her I'd worked with Ty and her mom. And I was like, her mom goes, oh, she's performing. I need you to make you this dress. And this was, say, like, the show was going to be filmed, like, on the Friday. And this was, like, say, like, the Wednesday. They called me to the studio where they were doing rehearsals. And she goes, I want you to make her something. And I go, really? And she goes, yeah, let's come up with something. So came up with the idea. I sat, did some sketches. She goes, let's do it in leather. We went and got leather the next day. I was up all night making this dress the night before. My daughter was there with me in the hotel room. We were waking her up. It goes, here, try this on. It's
So
like,
you're sewing and manufacturing a dress in your hotel room.
yeah. And it's like, and then because Beyonce didn't like to do fittings, right? So we go to the show. It was like at Kodak Theater type of thing. And so we're getting her dress and we're putting stuff on. But my concern was because, as we're doing it, I'd cut certain parts off, and I was like wondering, okay, is she going to fit? Is something going to slip out? So when she was performing, she had like a fur coat on over it as well. And because that was her first time performing Crazy in Love live. And so we're like watching from the back, like me, Ty, and there's a couple other people like Steve Harvey or some other people that were back there. And we're watching on the cam, and everyone's like hoping that a nip is going to slip. And I'm like, no, please, no, this can't happen. And it was like, it came close, and people were like, no, there it is. And I was like, no, it's not. So, but we're good. It was like,
everybody's hoping for that golden moment,
yeah,
that memorable moment, viral.
Like probably maybe a slight smidget. I think the video is on YouTube somewhere, but it was
great.
It was not as bad as Janet's.
Now, as a stylist, what's the craziest outfit that you had to assemble for somebody? Do you have any memories of something wild and Lady Gaga like?
Oh my God. Lady Gaga like. I don't know.
Well, we know that she goes overboard.
It's like wild. I don't even know, because to me they were all wild.
Okay.
At some point.
Sure.
They were all wild. There was nothing that I did that I ever thought that was basic type of thing. So it's hard
there are
to
differences
pinpoint.
in celebrities and how far you want to go. And I have a funny story, because we were with we had two guests one day on a show. We had Lady Gaga and Shania Twain.
Oh wow.
And so Shania Twain was sitting in the audience with her purse, and this was the rehearsal day. So she was doing her own makeup. She had her little compact. She's just doing, for rehearsal. And on the very same day, an hour later, Lady Gaga walks in just with 5 wardrobe assistants, holding onto her tail. It was out of control for a rehearsl. Of course, it's a rehearsal, so she's got to be dressed. But it was amazing, the contrast of, Shania not really worried about her look and her wardrobe and all that, compared to, here comes Lady Gaga. I mean, they're both incredible performers, but that was something we definitely noticed in the fashion world. So, Leisa, what are your plans and what are you doing these days?
I'm still styling. I won't say I'm retired, because if something comes up that I like, I'll do it.
Sure.
Because it's at that point now where I do what I like.
Pick and choose.
I work with who I like.
That's incredible.
And one of those I work with a lot is Living Color. They're one of my favorite bands I work with. So
very good. You keep yourself busy.
Yeah, I try to.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you here to talk and learn about your life. And so,
just a tip.
Just definitely the tip of the iceberg. Definitely the tip of the iceberg. And you should be definitely proud of your accomplishments. And I'm proud of you, because this was a really cool conversation.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming on the Candlepower Hour. Thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you for having me.
And come back.
Yes.
Because we have a lot more to talk about and a lot more people to talk about. So
yes.
this is a people show. Go to the Candlepower Hour. We're on the Candlepower Network on YouTube. Go to electricast.com for all the episodes, and go to candlepowerrecords.com for all the information on everything. Leisa Balfour, thank you for coming on the Candlepower Hour.
Thank you for having me.
Everybody, take care. Love you all. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Download those episodes, like and subscribe to the Candlepower Hour at electricast.com and wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Electricast.